Hello, and thank you for coming to the Muck Waters Effect. I'm your host, Matt. Today we're going to be talking about H.R. 1, commonly known as For the People's Act. Now, the H.R. 1 bill has already passed the House, and it's went into the Senate, and they're debating over it. The Republicans are probably going to use the filibuster. At that point, if they use the filibuster, the Democrats are going to need 10 Republicans to vote with them to end the filibuster so they could have a vote on the bill. And right now, the Democrats, led by Amy Klobuchar, is trying to find a way to get around the filibuster so they can just go in for a vote. And at that point, all they need is 51 votes. And they got that with 50 Democrats going to be voting for it, and also the Vice President, Kamala Harris, voting for it. And the Democrats are arguing we should go with this law because of what happened in 2020 and the results of it. We had 158 million ballots cast. And that is 7 percentage points higher than we had in 2016, according to Pew Research. But a lot of these laws that were done in each state, a lot of them were unconstitutional, but they were not able to get them fixed because no one was hurt by them. And then after the election was done, it's moot. So what are you supposed to do about that when it comes to how the Supreme Court or other courts are going to judge on it? But anyway, that's a whole nother video right there. Now, I have a video of a rep from Florida. His name is Byron Donalds, and he's a Republican, and he's talked about what he thinks about this bill.
Its way through Congress right now. It aims to reform the nation's election systems and is widely supported among voters. But one member of Congress says the legislation's bland name is actually masking an unconstitutional power grab by Democrats. Joining me now is Republican Congressman Byron Donalds of Florida. Congressman, good to see you. Just so that folks at home know what we're talking about, this is called H.R. 1, the For the People Act. It includes, among other things, same-day voter registration, election security measures, including paper ballots, public financing for campaigns, requiring PACs to disclose donors, require the president and the vice president to disclose 10 years of tax returns, independent commissions to draw congressional districts, and it supports statehood for Washington, D.C. It's called the For the People Act, but many people, including you, have said this is more a For the Democrats Act.
It's absolutely correct, John. This is one of the worst pieces of legislation coming through Capitol Hill. Listen, in the great state of Florida that I have the honor of representing, we have the best election laws in the country. Why in the world would we give our election laws over to Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Joe Biden? It's absolutely ridiculous. Same-day voter registration will be a travesty in America.
Yeah, one of the things that this does is it seems to dilute measures that states like Florida have already put in place to ensure integrity of their elections, like voter ID, having absentee ballots arrive by Election Day, other measures. This may pass the House, but Senator Mitch McConnell indicating it's going to have a tough time if and when it gets to the Senate. Listen here.
House Democrats want to try to use their slim majority to unilaterally rewrite and nationalize election law itself. They want to use the temporary power the voters have granted them to try to ensure they'll never have to relinquish it.
So help us out here, Congressman. How does this assist Democrats?
Number one, it gets rid of voter ID laws like you just said. Voter ID is something that 33 states in our country have already approved in varying degrees. Why would we get rid of making sure that the people who are authorized and eligible to vote actually prove who they are? That's number one. The other thing this bill does, it brings something nationally, which is called ballot harvesting, which we got rid of in Florida. What ballot harvesting does, it allows anybody to show up at a polling location with hundreds and hundreds of ballots. How does that help actually the sanctity of the vote and protecting every American citizen? It's measures like these that really are for Democrats, because in the areas where they typically run the election show, they allow ballot harvesting. They allow lack of voter ID. They don't have any of the controls necessary to secure the vote and to secure the ballot. That's what we should be doing in every state in the country, is securing the election process, not opening it up so anybody can throw ballots any which way they want to.
Now, as you can see, he doesn't like the bill. I think he has some pretty good points, and I'd like to go further into the bill and explain what's in there and what I think about it. Okay, as you can see in this story, the House Democrats' massive voting rights bill explained. It's really not a voting rights bill. Okay, there's things in the bill I actually like, such as the campaign finance reform that's in it. This part I actually like, except for one section. I'm going to go ahead and go over it with you. the federal government would provide a voucher to match, which means every small donation that is contributed, it would match it 6 times by the federal government. The maximum donation is $200. So if you donate $200, that means the federal government would match it by 6 times and give them $1,200. That person who's actually running. I got a problem with that. I don't think it should be 6 times. That's a little too much. I think it should be around 3 or 4. We need to do something to try to keep money out of politics. I mean, there's plenty of ways for you to go out there and get your message out for free. I mean, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, so on and so forth. You do not need billions of dollars to campaign for president anymore, when you can be in everybody's house, everybody's home, everybody's phone for free. That's all I'm saying. I mean, the last 2 presidential elections tell you that. Like, for example, Donald Trump won, but he was outspent 3-1, okay? And obviously it had nothing to do with money. And then, this time, Joe Biden won. Not only did Trump actually outspend him, I believe it was pretty close to spending, but it wasn't 3-1, but it was close. And then Biden didn't even go out very often. He didn't need to. Now this bill says the Democrats have 15 things in this H.R. 1 bill that would corrupt elections forever. Now I looked at the story, and I'd say there's more like 10 or 11, and I'll go ahead and go over those, what I think about them. Okay, first thing is eliminating voter ID. Now, in my opinion, voter ID makes sense. That secures the election. That makes sure you know who's voting. That also makes sure you're not allowing people to vote that aren't eligible to vote, such as 17 and 16-year-olds. And also, you're not allowing people to vote that are illegal immigrants. There's 35 states that have voter ID laws. So it's a pretty popular idea. And it's just not Republican states. It's actually Democrat states that have these laws too. So this law would actually eliminate those laws, where it would make it easier for fraud. Not only that, what other stuff do you have to have an ID to do? Get on a plane, drive, buy alcohol, buy cigarettes, apply for a loan, getting government assistance such as welfare, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. You have to have an ID. Take money out of a bank account, put money back in the bank account, and so on and so forth. So you need IDs for all this stuff, but you don't need an ID to vote, to make sure you are who you say you are. There's something a little corrupt there. Okay, the bill also mandates universal mail-in ballots and requires states to wait 10 days after Election Day for outstanding ballots that might arrive late. 10 days. Why do you need 10 days? If they mail it the same day election is, it should be there within 3 or 4 days. It sounds like to me it's just more opportunity for more impropriety in the election. There is no reason to wait that long. Hell, Florida does it. If you don't have it in by election day, your vote don't count, which just seems fair to me. I mean, another part of this bill is you got 15 days to vote. Like early voting starts 15 days before voting day. I'm sorry, but 15 days is adequate amount of time for you to get your vote in. And I'm not against that part of the bill. That part of the bill is actually not bad. But if you can't get your vote in within 15 days, I don't know what to tell you. You're a procrastinator and you're waiting until the last minute. There's something wrong. It would also allow 10 million illegal immigrants to vote. All right, they're foreign citizens from a foreign country. How are they able to vote in the United States? There's nothing in the Constitution allowing that. That part of the bill makes this completely illegitimate, and it won't pass constitutional mustard if it went to the Supreme Court. That part of the bill just completely flat out won't pass at all. All right, another thing this bill eliminates is a witness to sign an absentee ballot. Absentee ballots are somewhat controversial anyway, and you're making it even more controversial with not having a witness signing it. So if you need to actually follow the chain of custody of the ballot, you can't at that point, because all you have is the person who actually voted on it, and that is it. And it also eliminates the ability for the government to compare signatures, such as your signature on your driver's license. They can't compare it to your signature on your voting ballot. That's another way they do right now to actually verify when it comes to absentee ballots. It also ends the ability for states to clean voter rolls, which means if you move like 2 times within 6 years, ballots are going to go to 3 different addresses for you. Or if someone died in your family, that person's going to be getting a ballot. The point of cleaning the voter rolls is so to prevent that shit from happening. All this is doing is giving people more of a chance to actually cheat. The other thing it eliminates is the ability for poll watchers or election officials to ask questions of voters, such as, is this your polling station? Or can I see your ID? Stuff like that. What's going to prevent people from voting in one polling station and going to a completely different polling station and voting there? Nothing. This bill would also establish a commission of unelected national bureaucrats to decide where political boundaries are, which in plain terms is try to end gerrymandering. Right now, gerrymandering, when it's done in the states, it's elected officials to do that. What they want to do is have appointed officials to do it, which seems to be more likely to be corrupt, even more corrupt than it already is now. It don't sound like it would change much of anything, honestly. All it would do is, instead of the party that's empowered doing it, it would be whoever's the one that actually selected these people for this committee, which could be anyone, which would be anyone that's rich probably, or in a 1% or part of the political class. Sounds like it's just more of the same, really. Allowing felons to vote before they complete their sentence. Now, this is something that's kind of touchy for me because I think they should be allowed to vote after their sentence is completely over with. Now, a lot of people don't, but I think we should be able to bring them back into society, and part of that is being able to vote. And I understand what they did was bad to get a felony, but it's not, as long as it's not a violent crime. I don't have a problem with them voting. There's some crimes that are felonies that are like no big deal, such as, check writing or didn't pay your income tax and stuff like that. That's not violent. I don't see why these people shouldn't have the right to vote. Of course, after they complete their sentence. Okay, giving the U.S. territories extra Democrat seats in Congress, Senate, and Electoral College. Such as in the Senate, there'll be four extra Democrat seats. In the House, there will be 6 extra Democrat seats. And then in Electoral College, there'll be 18 extra votes. Now no, they're territories. They're not states. Now, if they became states, that's different. They would actually get this. But they're territories. And Washington, D.C. is not a state. Okay? It shouldn't be a state. Absolutely not. It's part of Virginia. Matter of fact, it's actually independent of Virginia, but that's how the founders wanted it to be when they made the Constitution that way. So we should leave it that way. And the reason is because the D.C. is supposed to be independent from any other state. It's kind of like the Vatican and Rome. You know what I'm saying? You got Rome, you got Italy, then you got Rome, which is its own separate state where the Vatican's at. Okay, that's how D.C. is set up. It's in Virginia, but D.C. is its own separate area, but it's not a state. Now we're at the point of the show where I'm going to give you my opinion of the bill. Now, I pretty much gave you opinion of each section of the bill, but there's things in the bill I'm okay with. But first thing is, the bill is completely illegal. It's unconstitutional. In the Constitution, the ones that make election laws are the states. Each state has their own idea of how election laws need to go by, and that's how the Constitution is. So if it got passed, a state like Texas or Florida going to take it directly to the Supreme Court, and they're going to throw the bill out, saying it's unconstitutional, which they're 100% right. Now, the vote would go probably 3-6 or 4-5 or something like that, but it is unconstitutional when you look at it. Now, there's one part of the bill that is constitutional. They have a right to do, and that is to make it a federal holiday. That's completely under the constitutional right to do so. But overall, what I think about the bill is I think it's a power grab by the Democrats. They saw an opportunity to take complete power. Some of these election laws that happened during the last election that's actually going to be changed for the next election in these states, they liked. And not only that, they do very well in states like New York and California, who has laws just like this. allowing a lot of impropriety, such as ballot harvesting, no ID laws, and so on and so forth. So it benefits them. Now, my thing is Democrats don't have any real good foresight into the future, because what's going to keep Republicans from beating them at their own game? Nothing. Nothing's going to keep them from doing it, especially if you pass this. I mean, what's going to keep them from doing what they're doing? Nothing. They should really think about it before they actually want to pass this. I mean, this is a perfect example of what I've said in other videos. We need more than a two-party system. If you had more than a two-party system, you wouldn't have huge power grabs like this going on. There's no way it could happen. The country would be divided by 4 or 5 different parties. Instead, it's divided by 2 parties, but really the 2 parties don't even have a mandate, if you think about it. The Republicans have maybe 25% of the country. The Democrats might have 25% of the country. 50% of the country are considered themselves independents. That means they don't really like either party, but if they have to vote, they're gonna pick and choose a single issue and go with that party. Perfect example is like me. When I voted for Obama in 2008, the only reason I voted for him was because of the wars. When it came to other stuff, I didn't agree with him on. Now, when it came to McCain, I was in complete disagreement with the idea we're going to stay in Iraq for another 100 years. He said that, and I was like, no, I'm not going to vote for you. Another example is like when I voted for Trump in 2020. The reason I voted for him is because I agree with him on the wars. I agree with him on the border and how his handling with China. I would like him to be a little bit more aggressive with China when it came to tariffs and stuff like that. Try to do more to help the Uyghur Muslims. But really, that's what most people have been voting with. Single voter issues, not with people that you completely agree with anymore. Like, in 2012, I voted for Libertarian. When it comes to Libertarians, I agree with 80% of their platform. That's more of my party. But I know they're not going to win. So I feel like I have to vote for a Republican that leans more that way. Now, if someone like Rand Paul would become the nominee, I'd be tickled to death. But that ain't ever going to happen. Someone like Rand Paul can't be, because you're going to have a lot of issues with people from Chamber of Commerce not liking him, people from other political sides of the Republican Party won't like him, especially when it comes to the industrial military complex. They wouldn't like him at all. He's more of a non-go to war and stay out of other people's business than Donald Trump was. Okay, guys, the video is over for today. I hope you liked it. If you didn't, I don't know what to tell you. But please hit subscribe and like. I'll see you later. Peace.